Good morning, friends. I would just like to share the what is of what's going on in my life right now. So I'm like really affected by the season changes. I think just because I'm such a highly sensitive person and I have a lot of air in my constitution to begin with. And so this fall is like, I was joking with one of my friends. It's like Vata on top of Vata, right? Like just this burst of creativity and feeling everything way more deeply. And some of the downsides that go with that, which is a lot of creativity happens at night when you would prefer to be sleeping. And also just like this internal need to be producing, right? And it's not like the capitalism production, because I'm always trying to filter that one out, right? Having a lot of air, which makes me want to be in motion, and having a lot of fire, which is also like a doing, executing, results-oriented mentality. And what it feels like is this need to be creating, right? From a creative space, from a love space, to be putting myself out there and sort of to be getting my house in order, and like my physical, literal house that I live in, but also my internal house, right? Like that metaphor, like it's time to get everything in order, like no more playing around. And so that is what I have been feeling. And then there's the divine fingerprints and things. So over and over, I find myself sort of planning my schedule and planning my weeks and what I'm going to get accomplished and what I'm going to put where, and trying to Tetris. Well, it is more like Jenga in reality, but trying to Tetris my schedule to make sure I'm not doing too many meetings in a row, that there's not too many nighttime meetings, like trying to figure out where I'm going to find time to do all of the things, because on top of building this business and doing training to be a level 3 inner alignment healer, I also just started a advanced 300-hour Kundalini teacher training because I just can't get enough of Kundalini. And then there's the parenting, and there is the running a pantry, and there's the trying to still recover from years and years of grind culture, working for a corporate entity, and to show up well for myself, and to also do this new job as a nonprofit consultant and community organizer. And if you've ever transitioned and jumped into a new career or even a new job, like that's just, it takes a lot of prana and or life force to get up to speed and feel comfortable. And it can take a good 5 to 6 years to really feel comfortable, like to feel like you have mastered something new. And so that is right 5 or 6 years before this is gonna feel easeful, this new venture, which I don't know if anybody's ever told you that, but that is something a mentor told me when I was entering PA school. And it was true, right? 5, 6 years before I felt like I knew what I was doing. And then I changed jobs and I started that cycle over. And even when I had kids, right? It wasn't until my daughter was 5 or 6 that I was like, you know what? I think I got this. I think I don't need to turn to books and to other people. Like I think I have a handle on this little human and how to communicate, care for her. Not that I have it all figured out, but just being less reliant on other people. So, right, all of that is kind of swirling around. And I would say the fiery part of me still slips into a bit of judgment about why are we so tired? And it's like, well, let's put this all down on paper because it's a lot. And being an introvert and being highly sensitive and doing work that's community organizing that involves being very out there and spending a lot of time around people and deeply sharing energy with people. I mean, that is all, it's a lot of stimulation. And even though it's good stimulation, it's just a lot for my nervous system. And so it's being really intentional about rest. And also feeling pulled to get all of my stuff in order. And this is, right, the funny line I'm walking. And so Friday, I had plans that got canceled. And I was like, oh, great, I could rest, right? Like, that's the first thing I felt like, ooh, I could rest. And I went to bring the kids to school, and then I got stopped by the person who is volunteering to take over the garden. And I was like, well, you don't say no to the universe when the universe sends you help. So like that turned into me doing yard work. And I had been really resistant about doing the yard work. And I think I was being resistant about it because I was concerned that the yard work bothering me was coming from a place of worrying about other people's judgment, right? Because was there anything actually bad about the yard being overgrown in spots and having giant weeds that were turning into a really beautiful ecosystem for the bunnies and the birds? And I'm not sure that there was a downside beyond the fact that it made me feel a little sad that my gardens were all overgrown. And yeah, and I'm somebody who really likes to beautify spaces. And so my yard did not feel reflective of who I am. It did not look bright and cheerful. And in general, because I have a lot of air and I'm a lot of swirl on the inside, I like things to be orderly in my environment. And that's on the inside too, right? Like inside the house. And I am the only one who I live with who feels that way. And so that also is a point of tension and opportunity for self-work, right? The inner work. So in doing this yard work on Friday, I touched something in the yard, not sure what, maybe poison ivy, maybe poison sumac, like no idea. And now I am covered in a rash all over, like massive blistery hives. And this is something I have lived through many a time before where my immune system just goes haywire and I get hives everywhere. And it actually has not happened in a couple of years, like since I started the breath work and the meditation. I haven't had a lot of issues with inflammation. And what's happened recently, especially with the kids being back in school, is that I have not been getting any sleep, and everybody's been sick, and I've been catching everything, and then it's Vata season. So on top of the fact that I don't feel good, like I just have a lot more air, and so I have no appetite, and it's like I'm having to remind myself and force myself to eat, and nothing tastes good. And so all of that to say, my body's in a rough spot. It's not particularly happy with me. And because I've been having like this sinus inflammation and I haven't been sleeping well, like it's been really hard for me to do my yoga practices because they make me feel dizzy and awful and like I'm going to throw up. And so that hasn't been happening. And right, like these are all of the vulnerabilities that stack when you are deep in your inner work, because it takes more to rock the boat. And what occurred to me this morning is, right, like all of this stuff that's going on, it's all about control and being rigid, right? I know I'm working with my fire and judgment right now. That's the stuff that keeps coming up. and like fear of being really human, and fear of not being good enough, and fear of other people's judgment. And those are all things that I need to be working, because if I'm putting myself out there as a coach, then I need to be really clear on my stuff. I have company. So yeah, it's this idea of that I keep making plans and I keep setting expectations for myself, and then the universe throws a curveball, right? And I adjust and I go back to making plans, and the universe hits me over the head again. And today I'm kind of like, yes, I see you and I hear you, and also may I have my lessons with ease and grace, because this itching all over and keeping me up at night, and like, yes, I did put in my destination vibration that I wanted to feel energetic and inspired. And being on high-dose steroids will do that, but that wasn't really what I was going for. So perhaps being more clear and descriptive. So, yes, my point being, the inner work is never done. Even being in awareness, right? Sometimes that is a double-edged sword, where it can become its own problem of overthinking things and over questioning, right? When you're not just in the witnessing. And right, and at the end of the day, it's all fine, right? The rash is going to get better. None of this is life or death. As my friend and colleague likes to say, it's not the Super Bowl, right? It's just a meeting. It's not the Super Bowl. Right? And the business will happen when it's supposed to happen, and my clients will find me when they're supposed to find me. And all of this is really about getting myself in order and getting caught up in thinking that involves doing something, when what I've been repeatedly hit over the head with is that I actually need to slow down and rest, and to be intentional about spending time being and spend less time doing. This is the hard stuff, right? And so that is going to be my practice today, and I invite you to do the same, is rather than focusing on doing, just focusing on being, and being present to the what is, and being present to whatever the moment presents itself as, and letting that be enough, and letting you be enough, and allowing for grace if that's what's needed. And yeah, just let's all give ourselves a break today. It's like the millionth day of rain in New England. Like, nature is telling us it's getting colder, it's getting darker. Like, it's time to turn inward. It is time to slow down and release, like let go of the stuff that's not serving us. And so I am working on letting go of those last bits of judgment, and just the need to be doing, the feeling like the doing is accomplishing anything, and focus on just staying in the heart today. So thank you for being here. Thanks for my ramble around the world. Thank you for your patience with the small person who is letting me know that he would like my attention, because he is not at school today. He is home because he's been a little sniffly and he was a little wheezy this morning, so I gave him a treatment, and that was another plot twist, which is just the way life is. right? And that's all about control. Like, as if I have any control over my schedule or anything else. I can control my breathing, and that is it. And at least in controlling my breathing, I can regulate my nervous system and return to the present moment. And so that is the gift we give ourselves with our practices. So much love to all of you. I hope you have an amazing day. If it's not amazing, I hope you know that Divine Source is ready and willing to help if only you ask. Love you.